Have you ever felt a chill run down your spine? Not from the cold, but from a headline. A news alert that seems to push the world just a little closer to the edge. We live in an age of unprecedented connection, yet the chasms between nations seem to be widening. Tensions simmer, alliances shift like desert sands, and the whispers of conflict grow louder. It's a question we try to push away, but it lingers in the shadows of our minds. What if the unthinkable happened? What if World War III were to break out? This isn't just a historical hypothetical. It's an exploration of a future we must strive to prevent. Imagine the first 24 hours. It wouldn't start with a single dramatic declaration. It would begin in the silent, invisible realm of cyberspace. Power grids would flicker and die, plunging entire cities into darkness. Communication networks would collapse, isolating communities and sowing chaos. Financial markets would go into freefall as digital transactions are frozen, erasing trillions in wealth in mere seconds. This initial wave isn't about physical destruction. It's about paralyzing the very nervous system of modern society. On the ground fedrain, isitical failure solar fla, or more cynic. Then, the second phase would begin. As the digital fog of war settles, the physical conflict would erupt, but not like the wars of the past. Forget the massive trench lines of World War I or the tank battles of World War II. The new front lines would be everywhere and nowhere. Hypersonic missiles, traveling at 5 times the speed of sound, could strike targets thousands of miles away in minutes, bypassing traditional defense systems. Satellites, the eyes and ears of every major power, would become prime targets, blinding armies and crippling navigation. The battlefield would extend from the depths of the ocean, where hunter-killer submarines stalk each other, to the vacuum of space, a new arena for global dominance. Suddenly, the world we know would be gone. Global supply chains, the intricate web that brings food to our stores and fuel to our cars, would snap. Store shelves would empty within days. The price of a loaf of bread or a gallon of gas would skyrocket, becoming a luxury for the few. Economies, built on the assumption of global trade and stability, would crumble. Unemployment would surge not by percentage points, but by tens of millions overnight. The very concept of money could become worthless, replaced by a desperate barter system. What is your phone worth when the network is down? What is your bank account worth when the banks are closed? Survival would become the new economy. The social fabric would unravel just as quickly. With resources scarce, the thin veneer of civilization would peel away. Governments, overwhelmed and focused on the war effort, would struggle to maintain order. In the vacuum of power, local militias or gangs might rise, imposing their own brutal rule. Fear and suspicion would turn neighbors against each other. Access to clean water, food, and basic medicine would become a daily struggle. Hospitals, already overwhelmed with casualties from the conflict, would face a second wave of patients suffering from malnutrition and diseases we thought we had conquered. And what about the human cost? We often think of war in terms of soldiers, but in a Third World War, the distinction between civilian and combatant would be almost meaningless. The scale of displacement would dwarf any refugee crisis in history. Millions, then tens of millions, would flee their homes, not in search of a better life, but simply in search of life itself. The psychological toll would be immeasurable. An entire generation would grow up knowing only fear, loss, and uncertainty. The trauma would echo for a century. This brings us to the ultimate, terrifying possibility: the nuclear taboo. For over 75 years, the doctrine of mutually assured destruction has acted as a terrifying, yet effective, deterrent. But in the desperation of a losing war, with a nation's very existence on the line, would a leader be tempted to press the button. A single, tactical nuclear strike, perhaps intended to halt an enemy advance, could trigger a catastrophic chain reaction. One strike invites retaliation. Retaliation invites escalation. The result would be a global nuclear winter. Soot and dust blasted into the atmosphere would block out the sun, causing global temperatures to plummet. Agriculture would collapse worldwide. The survivors of the initial blasts would face anew, slower death from starvation and radiation in a world plunged into a new dark age. This is not a prophecy, it is a warning. The scenarios we've walked through are not inevitable, but they are possible. They are the logical conclusion of unchecked aggression, broken diplomacy, and the belief that might makes right. The heroes of this story are not the generals or the politicians. The heroes are us. They are the diplomats who work tirelessly behind the scenes, the activists who demand peace, the educators who teach critical thinking, and every single citizen who chooses understanding over hatred and cooperation over conflict. The future is not written. The world stands at a crossroads. One path leads to the abyss we've just glimpsed. The other, though harder and steeper, leads toward a future built on shared security, mutual respect, and the simple, profound realization that our fates are intertwined. Preventing World War III is the great challenge of our time. It's a battle fought not with missiles and tanks, but with wisdom, empathy, and courage. Let this exploration not be a source of fear, but a call to action. Let's work to ensure that this story remains a fiction, a cautionary tale for generations to come. Thank you for joining me on this journey. If this discussion resonated with you, please consider liking this video and subscribing to the channel for more deep dives into the forces that shape our world. Stay curious, stay engaged, and stay hopeful.